Voices of the Universe is the title of a book by Swedish documentary filmmaker Friedrich Jurgenson, published in 1964. This book was a shock not only for readers, but also for scientists, because its author announced to the whole world that he had recorded the voices of the dead on a tape recorder. Jurgenson's work interested Latvian scientist Konstantin Raudive, who later became a leading researcher on this topic. So, in 1959, Friedrich Jurgenson was making a film about art. The documentary filmmaker decided to go out of town to record birds singing on a tape recorder. When Jurgenson listened to this recording at home, in addition to the birds singing, he also heard sounds that should not have been on the tape. Someone was whispering to him, "Friedel, can you hear me? You are being watched." At first, Friedrich Jurgenson assumed that his tape recorder was out of order. Jurgenson played the recording again and heard the same whisper. Jurgenson had to strain his ears to catch it. In this whisper, the documentary filmmaker recognized the voice of his mother, who had died several years ago. These words he heard changed Friedrich Jurgenson's entire life. He made new recordings on his tape recorder and thus received new messages from the dead in different languages. Friedrich Jurgenson tried to explain this phenomenon by saying that waves from some radio stations were breaking through in his recording. However, soon all the assumptions that the researcher could use to justify the appearance of these voices were destroyed. Soon everything became clear to Jurgenson, and he began to confidently say that he was receiving messages from the other world. The researcher hoped that now humanity would be able to solve the riddle of death. Before publishing his first book and telling the world about his discovery, Jurgenson conducted his experiments and made new tape recordings over several years. The messages that the researcher managed to receive from the other world were not distinguished by their profound content. They were all brief, as if the voices coming from there were not allowed to reveal all the secrets. After the publication of the book, Voices of the Universe, Konstantin Raudive decided to personally meet its author, and also to learn Jurgenson's method in order to verify the results of the research described in the book. Konstantin Raudive's first independent efforts did not bear any fruit. But one day the scientist managed to receive the first message. A female voice on the tape said, "Go to sleep, Margaret." Later, guided by Friedrich Jurgenson's method, Raudive managed to record thousands of messages from the other world. The voice entities speak very quickly, in different languages, sometimes up to 5 or 6 in one sentence. The rhythmic mode suggests a shortened phrase or sentence in the style of a telegram. They often abandon grammatical rules, and there are many neologisms. Raudive wrote about his research. The scientist was sure that he heard the voices of the dead, since some of them called themselves by their names and reported that they were in another dimension of life. Among the messages were the following: "You are dead, and we are alive. You are listening to a mass of the dead are alive. Konstantin, there is no death here. The world is death." Raudive managed to receive a message from a dead mother, who addressed her son as she liked to call him in childhood. After a successful series of experiments, Raudive wrote a book, Breakthrough. He dedicated it to the phenomenon of voices from the afterlife. In his book, which caused no less a shock than Jurgenson's work, the scientist published only a part of the messages he received, and this was 27,000 audio messages. Not all representatives of the scientific community believed in the authenticity of the recordings made by Konstantin Raudive. The researcher's recordings were subjected to careful analysis. Experts did not doubt the presence of voices on the tape. But many of them were sure that all the messages received by Konstantin Raudive were accidentally caught radio waves. To dispel doubts, shortly before his death in 1974, Konstantin Raudive repeated his experiments in the presence of other researchers. The experiment was conducted in a studio. There was equipment here that blocked the accidental penetration of electromagnetic waves. Recording on magnetic tape was made from 3 devices, the control of which Raudive was forbidden. He only gave commands. The recording was made for 18 minutes, and none of the scientists in the studio recorded any extraneous sounds. However, listening to the tape on Raudive's tape recorder, the researchers found dozens of messages. Some voices were so clearly audible that they did not require amplification. The scientists who conducted the test were unable to explain what had happened using existing physical terms, or to establish the origin of the recorded voices. Further analysis of the phenomenon of voices from beyond the grave showed that positive results were obtained by those researchers who did not deny the existence of the other world. The same scientists who denied the reality of the voices were unable to establish contact with the dead. As for the technology, scientists have not found anything that could affect the magnetic tape during recording. The only thing they have managed to clarify is that the recording of messages does not occur when the equipment is operating in an empty room without a person present. For this reason, some scientists believe that the thoughts of those present are recorded on the magnetic tape, and not the voices of the inhabitants of the other world.